Welcome back to TV5 News at 9. It's time now for Education Matters. We're here with Dr. Craig Douglas. And Craig, I just want to thank you so much for being here with us this Tuesday.
Good morning.
All right, glad to have you here. Today we are talking about helping students who might be behind in their schoolwork, with going to virtual, back to in-class. It's a lot. So what tips do you have, Dr. Douglas?
Exactly, Blake. It's not a fun topic, but it's a real topic. This portion of the school year, we're through about 2/3 of it. Many schools have just concluded spring break. Perhaps they've wrapped up a marking period, or those high schools on trimesters, they're going into the third trimester. So it's a time to assess where students are at and to see where those grades stand. Often there's been parent-teacher conferences that have been held, and these sorts of conversations have already been initiated to see whether or not students are keeping pace. And as you pointed out, the pandemic amplifies the probability that there's some students out there falling behind, especially now with schools having to recalibrate their instruction, returning to more remote as we're in a peak of some sort with this virus right now. These changes can unsettle students of all abilities, all ages, all subjects, and it can cause them to get behind. So what can be done? What can be done to catch them up? Well, there are many resources on the web. I'd encourage parents to consider these resources, but first, reach back out to the school and to the child's teacher or teachers, starting with the local educators. They're the experts. They're boots on the ground working with the student, and they can help identify perhaps the cause or causes and define the problem better for the parents. The questions like, is it a subject-specific challenge, or are there study skill issues surfacing? Could there be a motivation issue, perhaps a health issue or a time management situation? Is there some other cause for a learning gap that's surfacing? Is there a tutoring need? These are possibilities, and it's a long list, and teachers can help work with the parents to give some insight on what may be causing the falling behind cycle to occur. Also consider the guidance counselor, the principal, others in the educational picture, seeking input from all who are involved. So once the problem's been better identified, hopefully in unison with the teacher and others at school, the most relevant course of action can be determined to reverse the trend. If it's related to a subject area, often this time of year it's math. Perhaps some extra tutoring could help the student, or maybe a study buddy, and maybe some extra online help. Whatever the solution, raising the awareness, setting some goals, some immediate goals to reverse the tide. That's what I would advise parents to consider. One goal might be to set aside a certain amount of time each day to review the next day's assignment with the child, maybe at night. Whatever it is, it might be communication with the teacher on an ongoing basis. We used to call these Friday folders or Friday notes. Now there's email, voicemail, and other communication tools available. Keeping the goals simple. Keeping it simple, realistic, and attainable, and getting positive feedback back to the child. This is a generalization, Blake, but the student probably fell behind over a course of time. Maybe it was days or weeks or maybe even months. So it's probable it's going to take a course of time to get the whole thing turned around. That means being patient and supportive. The good news is this: it's only early April, so there's time in the school year to address these issues. It's not too late to do something. And with the pandemic, more students are facing this challenge of being, quote, behind than perhaps in usual school years. Thus, there's probably more options available for parents to help turn the tide and reverse the trend. It's tough, but it can be addressed with patience and support from home and from school. So be encouraged in knowing you're not alone if you're facing this type of situation.
Absolutely, Dr. Douglas. Well, we appreciate those tips. I will say you said something that helped me during my own time in school was a study buddy. So, I felt I learned a little bit better with somebody else in the room with me.
Same with me, Blake. It was Treg, and I had a classmate that he and I used to talk on the phone back in the old days when we had phones, right?
Yeah.
to help encourage each other on particular trig assignments.
All right, sounds good. Well, Dr. Douglas, thank you again for being here, and we really appreciate the tips that you had. For more information about today's topic, just check out the School Source page on WNEM.com.